Live. All right, mic check 1 2. Can everybody hear me? No, that's 28 minutes ago. And so I hope that everyone's having a great day and you all can hear me. It says that I'm live. And so everybody let me know, give me some action in the chat if you can actually see me or you can't see the presentation and actually hear me. All right, nobody said anything. So Carmen, you can help me out. Okay, perfect. All right, sweet. So my name is Reginald Smith. So first and foremost, I want to definitely thank Carmen and her team for inviting me on and having me. Perfect. Thank you, Michelle, Tammy, and Kristen. So I just wanted to come on today and talk about the gig economy and finance. But again, I want to say thank you. And on behalf of our CEO, Ray Morris, and the Sabre Finance family, we just appreciate you all giving us an opportunity to come on and talk to your people and the people that you have, your following. And I think this is going to be a great session. So I hope that you all get something out of it. Again, my name is Reginald Smith. I've been in finance for the last decade. And so I went from being a part-time teller at Wells Fargo all the way up to a commercial banker at BBVA Compass prior to transition into economic development. And so now I work for Sabre Finance, which is a community development, economic development entity. And we provide small businesses with access to capital when they traditionally can't get it at the bank. So the beauty about what I get to do now is I get to tell all of the secrets and the tips and tricks and the loopholes that I didn't really get to say when I was at the bank. So I love the position that I'm in. And so I hope that you all learned something today and able to take something away from it to benefit you, not only during this time, but moving forward as you all continue in this space. So let's jump right into it. We don't have a lot of time and I don't want to talk for a lot of time just doing the presentation. I really want to give you all an opportunity to ask questions and so that it can be most beneficial to you all who are here. So gig economy and finance. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the good, the ugly, the bad, and the good. So let's see here. The first thing is the ugly. The ugly thing as it pertains to the gig economy and finance, banking, lending is that you all are that this industry is, or this group is considered to be independent contractors. And so obviously that's the term that we would use in that setting. And unfortunately with that, independent contractors are generally speaking to be financially unstable. They often get declined for any type of funding that they go after. So traditional funding, so going to the bank, trying to get a credit card, and there's extenuating circumstances, but traditionally that's the case. And traditionally they're just not taken seriously. And so the term in and of itself, from as I understand it and as I've looked at it, it's just kind of, hey, I want to be my own boss, so instead of working for you, I would much rather you hire me as an independent contractor. I make my own hours, I do my own thing. And oftentimes in the financial sector, there's a little bit of a downplay, in my personal opinion. There's like, well, they may not be as serious, they may not be as stable. And that's just kind of the ugly in my personal, from my sake and for my experience. The bad. I say the bad, it's not all bad, but there is a portion of this that none of this matters, meaning that none of this gets done for you anymore. So your payroll taxes, your bookkeeping, your insurance, negotiating contracts is a huge, huge thing that a lot of the contractors have to do, because now not only have you learning how to evaluate your costs and what you're going to charge. Obviously, if you're a ship shopper or Uber driver or a Lyft driver, there's flat rates and things of that nature. But if you are an IT person and you're going after a contract with a company that you used to work for, or I had one client who used to work for Honda, and now he's a contractor that actually does work for them. And so being able to price yourself effectively, not undercut cutting yourself, but being able to bake in all of your costs into those contracts is going to be huge during this space. And that's something that you, as a independent contractor, are going to have to be responsible for when you're navigating through this space as it pertains to approaching financial institutions or finance banking institutions in general. Um, the last thing that I want to talk about, and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time giving you information that you already knew, was that the good. So it's possible. So I kind of want to stop here and spend a few minutes, maybe 5 or 6 minutes, kind of talking about the fact of how this is possible and how this works and how to really make an impact on this. So one of the biggest things that I want to touch on is that a lot of times, unless you have some type of direct deposit system or mechanism already put in place, a lot of times these entities are going to cut you a check. And so if they cut you a check, that means that you're going to have a bank account. And if you have a bank account, even if you do online, with mobile deposits or going into the branch, if you're not keeping a large amount of money in your account, traditionally they're going to want to put a hold on that account. So that's something that you can work around. So let's talk a little bit about how you can work around that, because that's one of the things. I kind of did a little survey, and individuals in that space have communicated that that's a big issue for them, that putting holds on a check, I can't get access to my money fast enough. I have an issue because I get paid and I need the money. I need to be able to use those funds, but I can't. So a couple of things that you can do. One thing that you can do is actually have a relationship with your branch or a branch manager if you're going to have a traditional banking setup. So when I worked at the bank, I was a branch manager, and I had individuals who were just like this all the time. And they would call me ahead of time. One particular client, he would say, hey, I just got a $5,000 check, a $10,000 check. I'm coming by today. I need you to make a deposit. I need to make a deposit, but I don't need it to be held for 7 days. Is it possible that you can release some of it tomorrow? And I would do that for him because I understood his business. I knew who he was. I knew he was good for it. And I knew that the checks where he got the money from, that they weren't going to bounce. So I was able to navigate that for him. So tip number one, if you don't take anything else away from this, if you've experienced that or had that situation, work very diligently to either find a branch manager at the branch location where you open your account, that branch actually has, in a sense, authority or jurisdiction over your account to make those kind of decisions. So making sure that you introduce yourself. If you don't already know the person in charge there, right now that's kind of a little difficult. If you have their card and you just never used it, send them an email. If you can't, call up there and see if you can find it, because you're still going to be, if you're still making money right now, you're still going to need to make deposits, and that's going to be huge. Cash into your business as an independent contractor is the lifeblood of your business. And if you don't get that cash in, it's just not going to be helpful for you at all. One of the other things I want to talk about is your ability to get access to funding. And so there are a lot of different ways to go about doing that. The way that kind of banking has evolved, lending has evolved. And so I am very cautious, even as a lending institution, to put money in other individuals' hands when they want to borrow money, not because we don't want to do loans. I would love to give you a loan because obviously we make money off of the interest, but I'm very cautious as it pertains to that because there are specific reasons why you should borrow money. Borrowing money should turn into revenue, and it shouldn't take multiple years for that money to turn into revenue. You should borrow money in a situation where you know without a shadow of a doubt it's going to yield a return on that investment. So for instance, as an independent contractor, say you go out and you win a contract that's larger than what you normally would have done, and you're going to need some upfront capital to be able to fulfill that order. In that instance, in my personal opinion, to me, I've seen and have done loans that have been extremely beneficial for business owners because they just didn't have the cash on hand to fulfill the order that they had went out and that they went out and actually won a bid for or were granted an opportunity to provide provide those services. That's a great example of where you may want to look into getting some funding. One of the biggest things that hinder an independent contractor or someone in the gig space from getting those fundings is documentation. It's very challenging to, as a lender, from a lender's perspective, to be able to give you any type of feedback or even consider giving you a loan if you don't have the right documentation. One of the things that I wanted to be able to give is some low cost or free services to be able to get access or be able to start down that road of keeping up with how much you're actually spending or keeping up with how much you actually have coming in. So one of those softwares that I've had business owners to use, independent contractors, because you want to be able to invoice out of that system as well, is a software called FreshBooks. And so FreshBooks is one, Square is another. Obviously, QuickBooks is one that's available on there, or you can just use an Excel sheet. Sometimes I'm not that great at Excel, but I know some individuals that have done some very magical things with Excel sheets to be able to track their expenses and their revenue and be able to show what they've actually revenue looks like and what expenses look like and what they've netted, what bottom line looks like after that. Those are the most important things. I don't think you have to be perfect in that space. If you're growing, if you've been in the very early on stages, I do believe that it's very easy to start and build that habit. If you haven't done it in the past, it's a good opportunity to potentially look at going backwards and getting a bookkeeper or finding someone that can potentially assist you, or even YouTube. A lot of what I've learned about softwares that individuals are using come from YouTube. There are a lot of people in the independent contractor space that have to do the bookkeeping work, and there's new softwares and new ways of going about doing it that's popping up all the time. So so there's a lot of information out there. So I think I heard one of the presenters talk a little bit about educating yourself during this time. Like, we can't really go a whole lot of places. It's not anywhere for us to go. One of the things that I would strongly consider is educating on is the back end office part of the business. So not only do you have an idea, not only do you have something that you're looking to do, something that you're already doing, aspiring to do, but that back end portion of it is going to be humongous. And when I talk about back end portion, I'm talking about actually doing the bookkeeping, knowing where your funds are going, managing your expenses, and being able to separate the two, which leads into my last thing. And then I just want to open it up for questions because, again, there's a lot of places I can go, but I really would love the opportunity to just kind of answer some specific questions, which is going to be separating the two funds. So your personal funds from your business funds. Being able to see a clear line, a clear separation between the two is going to be huge. Some people do that by actually taking some type of draw if you have an entity set up. If you don't have an entity set up, some people do it just by having two separate accounts. I have one client that I consult, and they're a ship shopper. And what they do is they have money that they pay themselves from their ship account. They pay themselves every 2 weeks, but they actually have a separate bank account that they allow ship to deposit in, and they get gas out of their account. They do all the things that help them to run their ship business, but they have a separate account so they can make sure that all of their purchases when they go out to eat, or if they go get a haircut, or if they go buy themselves some clothing, or whatever the case may be, that there is a clear separation between the two. Even though you don't have an entity, maybe you're a sole proprietor and using your social security number, that's going to be critical to you being able to show clearly the difference of what your business is doing and those expenses versus what you are doing personally, and separating those expenses. And so I'm going to stop there. I've said a lot. over this short period of time. Carmen, I don't know how you've been navigating the questions phase, but if anybody has any questions about anything I've said so far, please don't hesitate to shoot them out there, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that that you all may have. Okay. Thank you, Tammy. Okay. I'm reading, Lashana. I'm gonna wait till you finish typing because I feel like you're typing right now. And I'll ask Ms. Harris question. So, Ms. Faye, first of all, I want to say this: I am not a financial advisor or do any stocks or brokering or anything along those lines. But I do have a lot of friends in that area, and they are saying yes. The investing in the stock market is a very big, broad topic, and I think you have to definitely kind of take a second to figure out exactly what part of the stock market that you're referring to, and I think that's going to be most important. So it depends on what kind of stock market you're referring to. That's going to really be whether you're talking about mutual funds or whether you're talking about just individual stocks or whether you're talking about some type of retirement account, putting more money in your retirement account. All of that's going to really determine what your answer is to that question. But historically speaking, when the market is down, the way that it was told to me is that if you were currently investing $100 a month and your stocks that you were buying or your particular account was buying stocks and it was $25 a piece, you were only getting 4. And if they're $10 a piece now you're getting 10. So that's something to kind of think about. But I think one of the other presenters is coming on, and he's phenomenal in that area, Mr. Isaac Cooper. So if you stick around a little bit later, I think he'll be able to provide some information for you on that one. Great question. All right, Ms. Lashana. So thank you so much for asking your question. Ms. Faye, please let me know if that's helpful. Ms. Lashana, is there any unpainful way to untangle this and get back on track with a software program like GoDaddy? Untangling your books is going to be it's going to be a process. Number one, yes, there's ways for you to do that. Yes, there's ways for you to get help to do that. Some of it you can start with an organization like Sabre Finance, a community development financial institution, or a CDFI. So I'll put that in the chat. And so what we do oftentimes is we provide what we call business consulting services at no cost to the participants. And so we can help with those type of things, whether through referrals or direct kind of you opening up whatever type of process that you're using right now, and we can help through that way. Or you're welcome. Or what we can do is try to find you some type of local resource that you can use. One of my referral partners will actually be on a little bit later is Ms. Taliba Bales of TMB Toolbox. She does a fantastic job of providing bookkeeping services and helping people get that under control. But I think that it really just is on a case-by-case basis. I do understand that you may not want to say everything on here, and so I definitely would be grateful, be glad to help you if you wanted to talk offline, and you can be a little bit more descriptive about kind of what you're dealing with. But I think that it's very doable, and I think that's one of the things that I want to make sure that you all understand, anybody listening to this will understand, is that it's very doable. It's just sometimes when you've not done it the right way, or you're not done it the right way, trying to face it and kind of organize it all can be intimidating. And that's something that we definitely can help you with. You're very welcome. So again, I think either Carmen can provide all of our contact information, or I can maybe put it in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to kind of do a one-off and talk with you about that. Great question. Thank you all so much for responding and asking questions. Any other questions? Okay. Well, that's all I had, Miss Carmen. So if anybody has any other questions, again, I would love to take any questions that you guys have, but I think they got it. All right, perfect. I'm trying to wait and make sure. Miss Faye, let me know if you can hear me because I'm waiting on. Okay, there we go. All right, so great question. So, who has the final say of an expense, personal or business, and where it should be? So, that's a great question. I get that question a lot, and it can become a very complicated situation because most of the time, if you're doing freelance, okay, perfect. Okay, you can hear me. So it can be a very complicated situation because if you're doing freelance or if you have a job and then you're doing something on the side or this is what you do full time, most of the time we do it to take care of ourselves. And so, to say which one is a business expense, which one is a personal expense, can be challenging. So two things I want to say about that. One, you want to speak with whoever is going to be preparing your taxes. So if you're going to do them, I would advise you to speak to some type of accountant so that you could make sure that you have some type of consistency. From what I understand with talking to accountants, consistency is the most important thing. So if you um, put your lunch meetings as business expenses, um, then consistency is the most important thing. So whatever you deem as a business expense, it's going to be important that you're just consistent with it. I think there is some flexibilities, and that's one of the beautiful things about being a business owner. There are some things that you can put over into that category of a business expense that may kind of have more of a personal bent to it, to be completely honest. So, sometimes if you eat and you're traveling, that can be written off as a business expense. So if you went outside of your normal everyday drive from your house to where you would normally work or how you would normally do your business, you can write that off. If you work from home primarily, your office is at home and you drive to go meet a client and you live in Bessemer or you live in Hoover and you drive to Bessemer, or if you live in Calera and you drive to Bessemer to meet somebody, you can write those miles off. I think there is a lot that goes in between there. So supplies, if you buy a printer, okay, now you bought a printer, so that can be a business expense, but you may use it for personal things, but you bought it for the purpose of your business. So I really think having some type of professional that deals in that space to really guide you on what's common for your business, because I think that's what really matters. What's common for the industry that you have? If you're a ship shopper, what are the common things that people are writing off as ship shoppers? Which I can think auto expenses will be huge. Maybe even your auto insurance. There could be a number of things, and so I just think that sometimes those things do overlap. And I just think that you have to remain consistent on what you decide to do. And so, great question. Did I answer your question first and foremost? This way. Yes. Okay. Awesome.